it if you can't hear anything. All right, sweet as. We are good to go.
Hi everybody, I'm Kyriakos Gold. My pronouns are he, them. Before I start, I would like to also acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Bunurong, Bunurong, and Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung peoples of the Eastern Kulin Nation, and pay my respect to the elders past and present. Now, a little bit about me. I wear multiple hats. In Australia, mostly known about my work at SBS, and currently I lead a social enterprise. It's called Just Gold, just to rhyme with my name. Where I lead a team of 7. Some of my team are here today, Dan, Carly, and Grace, and that will make a little bit more sense when we're going to the workshop part of today's lecture. I hold a Juris Doctor. I'm a non-practicing lawyer. I have an executive MBA. I'm halfway through a PhD in branding, and my undergrad is in international studies. My research focuses on branding for the social sector, branding for good, and creating a blueprint for underfunded organizations. So basically the question is, if I'm a social entrepreneur or if I'm a young organization, how can I maximize my branding efforts without having to fund them through philanthropy or through raising capital? So the little money that I have, they can go on operations or in other activities. I identify as queer. I'm also autistic and unapologetically Australian and Greek. So the structure of the session is I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about our social enterprise. That is a plug, but also it will make sense in terms of how we branded ourselves and how our methodology applies to that. Then we'll frame a little bit of the branding problem and look at some definitions for the more academically minded. We don't have to do that. You can let me know if you prefer to go straight into our workshop. And at the end, we'll discuss solutions in a workshop style conversation in a way that you can understand our methodology when you leave this lecture. So you can apply them in your organizations or at least to trigger those conversations when you go back to work or to study or talk to your friends. So at Just Gold, that is our social enterprise, we work with a vision of a just world where everybody has access to opportunity. So we're a full service consultancy and we have a creative arm with offices in Melbourne and Sydney, and we work on international projects. We are a social enterprise and we're accredited by Social Traders, but we're also a big corporation. Every building block of our social enterprise is built with social impact principles in mind. So what we do is, come in, it's okay. So what we do is we employ people from vulnerable groups that are highly skilled. And then we work with businesses and government to deliver commercial projects. And from our profits, we deliver exactly the same services in low bono, pro bono, or discounted packages for the social sector. In essence, we'll help the health. Just give me 1 second for one minute. I just need to get it.
For everybody just joined, if you can't hear at any stage, just give like a thumbs down or a sad face and we'll reconvene.
Just Gold Digital Agency, Just Gold, so it's justgold.net. I have to apologize, I'm overheating, so my autism is giving me a little bit of a meltdown. So I hope I can, if I need to have a break, I'll take a break and then I'll come back to it. So basically our impact and our branding is linked with our sector's branding. The more we grow, the more services we can supply. I'm sorry?
Oh, no, sorry, that's not the goal. Telling him to use the next door.
Okay, what are we doing?
Just keep going, sorry.
So the more we grow, the more sectors grow, the sector grows. The more profits we make, the more not-for-profits we can help. So we designed our brand in a way that it's linked with everything that our sector does. So speaking about the sector, we're seeing a dominance of social enterprises. So we have more and more products. Hi, come in. We all know the definition of the broad sector, the social sector, not-for-profits, charities, social enterprises. We're seeing more and more social enterprises coming along. We've got over 20,000 social enterprises in Australia at the moment, and they're growing. What we're seeing is the creation of premium products, products that are linked with social purpose. So for example, when you go to the supermarket and you're about to buy soap, now you've got more choice, and you're not only choosing in terms of the packaging or in terms of the name of the brand, but you're also choosing in terms of the sustainability chain, in terms of the narratives, in terms of the leader, in terms of a lot of other things. So we're seeing more and more the merging of the social sector and the commercial sector. So that's got pros and cons. So the pros are that more businesses have now to compete, not only in ticking the box, they've got to be sustainable, but it's also making it harder for social enterprises because more and more people are doing it the right way. So that's basically the challenge that we have. How can a small social enterprise or how can a social entrepreneur compete in that Coca-Cola environment? Yeah? How can you compete with Thank You Water? It's a great business, but how can I make it in that system? In addition, if you think about it, we now live in, I don't want to use the term digital era because that's really old-fashioned. There's so many people in social media, there's so many people on the internet, there's so much content that is becoming more and more difficult to create that content that's going to strike through, that to tell the truth. And what happened with the pandemic as well, everybody got online and everybody's a content maker. Not a great one, so people are tired. For example, if we had a choice, we wouldn't just be looking at a camera for our Teams people. That's actually really bad content. It's really tiring. You're not going to get the energy of the room. So it becomes even more difficult to create your voice, to create that content, and to speak your truth. So I'm going to go through a couple of definitions in terms of branding, brand value, and social value. I'm going to read those because to me they make no sense, but it's for like people that like to get a definition. Now that will make a little bit more sense towards the end of the day. So branding is the process of communicating a unique selling proposition or differential that sets a product or service apart from the competition. Examples of branding techniques include the use of logos, taglines, jingles, and mascots. Then we've got brand value, which is basically what your brand is worth. If you're going to sell it, how much money you're going to get. Then we have social value. And that refers to the values guiding and determining social structures and processes. And then we've got social brand value, which is the perceived value derived by exchange and interactions with other users of the brand within a community. What happens in this space? Keep that in mind in terms of all the things that you've got to do. How complicated is that? There's so many definitions. And then we've got ROI, return on investment. Basically, I'm putting that much money in there, how much will I get back? So I've spent $10 in advertising, I got $10 worth of conversions. Have I sold that much product or service? Thank you. So that was the term that we were using the last 10 years. Now we're using the term SROI, social return on investment. So how do you put value in a tweet? How do you put value in a like or in a message? Because you could tweet an article today and you may not get any likes or you may not get any engagement for 3 months. And that tweet could go viral in 3 months or 12 months, or you could cancel it. So SROI is not a linear, you don't understand it in a linear way, it's very wicked. It's not as dry. So you build familiarity with a user through sharing multiple social media posts. Then you've got private engagement, where your user goes into the private zone, where we see more and more people interact. And all that may eventuate to a purchase, or it may just eventuate to somebody that will speak for you, and that will become a purchase. So that's the community. So having all those terms of branding activities makes it sound really, really complex. It's so academic, but we think it's a much simpler journey. We think that when you start a new brand or a not-for-profit, you basically have to start two brands. Anyone has an idea what the other brand is? You've got your product or your service or your not-for-profit. What would be the other brand?
Socials?
No, it's your own brand. So when you go out to market and you've got $10 in your pocket and you're creating, so my name is Kyriakos Gold and I've created a company called Just Gold, and Just Gold had $10 to buy equipment, buy advertising, create a network. However, me as Kyriakos Gold, I'm worth $10 as well, because I have a network. I've got friends, I've got fans, I've got classes, I've got my own website, my own digital presence. So if I go to Just Gold, which is the enterprise, and Just Gold outsources my services, then I've got $20, which are that perceived value and that of my own network and my own ecosystem and my own digital footprint, as well as the value of equipment and offices and whatever Just Gold has. So in essence, I will be the marketing department, I will be the branding ambassador, I will be the brand that takes it out to the market. And this is where it becomes challenging. If my values and my personal brand is not 100% aligned with the brand that I'm building, then I have a problem. For example, if I've got a social enterprise and I'm a misogynist, it's not going to work, is it? What am I preaching? If I'm racist and I'm building a not-for-profit to build schools in, for example, Africa, that's not going to make any sense to my founders. What am I preaching? It's like misleading and deceptive conduct. So before we go out and build a brand, first we need to deep dive into our soul as leaders, as professionals, understand ourselves, go through that internal branding journey, and then through that, create our secondary brand, which it has a symbiotic relationship with your personal brand. So imagine yourself as a mother, as a father, as a parent, and this is your little baby. And for a while, whatever you do, it has to be 100% aligned. There'll be a time when you have to cut the cord, but that's a little bit later. So we brand the activity, we brand the service, we brand the process, we brand operations, everything according to our personal values. So if you think about it as a system, you'll have your vision at the top, your personal vision, then you'll have your mission, then you'll have your narratives. And for example, at Just Gold, our vision of a just world, that will never change. We will always believe in a just world. So no matter what business we're going to add under that, we're always going to strive for a just world where everybody has access to opportunity. That's our mission. So when I knew that was my personal, my vision. When I knew that was my personal vision, then I could align it 100% with my business. First step, done. Remember, the vision is utopia, the world you want to be part of. Thank you, Water says, and poverty. You know, that's the end, no poverty. Businesses make people happy. Ted says, spread ideas. Under that, you can have a number of missions. So once you get your vision, that's you understand yourself, then you say, okay, I'm going to build a business with that vision. Then we need to define the mission. What does that business do? So in our case, we identified a problem, and the problem was 54% of enterprises or not-for-profits in the social sector reported a barrier to marketing in the Map for Impact in 2017. That's a lot of enterprises that are saying they have a barrier to marketing. So then we thought, social enterprises work with youth, they work with women, with queer people, with autistic. What can we do to amplify our impact? And we thought, if there is a problem to marketing, we're going to help the helpers. We're going to help all social entrepreneurs that have a problem to marketing. And this way, we will amplify our impact by amplifying theirs. So that was our concept. Vision, Just World. Mission, we'll create a platform that employs people from vulnerable groups that have skills. We'll upskill them, and then we'll go and fix people's marketing. How will we do that? We will work with big business and government. We'll make money out of those lovely people, and then those profits we will share to employ more people and to fix people's marketing. I'm just like simple terminology here. I could have decided a different business. It could have been, I want a laundromat that employs victims of domestic violence, upskills them, and that's it. That's still part of a Just World. So I could have had a number of businesses, but my vision doesn't change. So your vision never changes. Your vision of that utopia, of that great world, how does it look like? No poverty, no marketing barriers, no violence. It could be a number of things. So your first step is understanding what your vision is. Then a clear mission. What is that business that I'm going to do? What is that new not-for-profit? How is it different? How will it compete? Because at the end of the day, it needs to compete. If I'm going to go out there and I'm going to create a new bottle of water that's going to compete with Thank You, and Thank You says they're going to end poverty in every supermarket, why is my water better? So that mission is very important. So at this stage, you're probably thinking, why are we talking about vision and mission? How does this relate to branding? Just park that for a minute, we'll get to it. And then we've got vision, mission, we're now in our business. How does that business run? What are the values of the business? How would I be very comfortable 100% in a business? I'll be comfortable if everybody works together, if everybody's equal, if we've got diversity, if we've got respect. Good 5 values for me. Your values may be different. Flexible environment. It could be constant upskilling. It could be a number of things. So you've got your 3 layers: vision, mission, narratives. Once you have that and it's 100% aligned with yourself, then you're ready to embark on your business journey. And that is, in essence, your narratives, your marketing constitution, what you're going to go to market with. So once you have that ready, then your social media is easy. Then your copy is much easier. Then your pitching becomes easier. So a big component of your business in terms of the marketing and branding is ready. You've got a little nice package there. So that's the first step. The next step is that you've got to be consistent. You can't appear in a room of people today and say we live in an equal society, and you can't tomorrow say that you think women have been given the same opportunity with men over the last 100 years. It just doesn't make sense. You got to be realistic, and you got to be aligned with what you say every time. So consistency is key. And that's in your personal life, because your personal life is what you don't spend money on. You just appear, you present. You present to, I present to this lecture, I present to networking function, I present to friends at lunch or dinner, I present when I run a tender. So that's your live component. But we've already said that we are living in a virtual world. So then you've got to interpret your constitution into your digital footprint. And that is very, very important. And that generation plays a little bit of a role here, because younger people come preloaded with the software. It's almost like TikTok just happens in your hand. Older people may have a little bit of a difficulty. Like, I've been doing social media for a good 20 years, and I still haven't mastered TikTok. So then all this system, your vision to narratives, has to translate on your digital ecosystem. And that's where you need to be very careful. So your basic platforms, your LinkedIn, your Facebook, your Instagram, you need to be searchable. And you need to be consistent on it. That's your first billboard. That's the first billboard that people are going to look at before assessing your business. Because your business was just born. There's not much for people to see. But for your business to be considered authentic and true, they're going to assess yourselves. So does that make sense? Does that make sense? Sure. So it's very important. And I will talk about authenticity, but it's that of the academic discussion to the practical component. Like, for example, in Australia, we are racist. You know, we use casual racism all the time. And sometimes we don't even understand it. I mean, I come from a migrant background, and I've caught myself with my bias. You know, sometimes we make up an accent. You know, you may not mean it, but you got to have always that alarm bell there. Like, first check yourself that you are aligned with your vision. If you're not, maybe that's not your vision. You got to think about it. Do you really believe in a just world? Or was it just a clever marketing catchphrase? That's what I said. That first component is very, very important, because the more true that vision is to yourself, the easier you'll be able to brand your business. And in the era of cancel culture, you have less of a risk of being cancelled, because just even one mistake in a big conference can set you back 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. You may lose your funding, you know, a whole bunch of stuff. And I believe that people change, okay? But you got to understand what the environment's like. So it's a very personal thing, branding for good. First you brand yourself, first you understand yourself, then you brand your business. So now that we've got the basic components of what our methodology is, I'm just gonna go to my team and see how that translates in our business. So Dan, you were recently hired by us. You've been with us how many weeks?
I've been with Just Go for 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what made you come to Just Go?
Yeah, so just like any job seeker, when I was seeing the job listing, I stalked my employer, my potential employer. And the first thing, as a person from a very vulnerable background, as a gender fluid person, as someone who comes from a refugee background, I had to look at their core beliefs or their value statements first to see if any align with any of mine. Because obviously, I want to work somewhere where I don't believe in the products. So I was also looking at their clients, and yeah, I should say that I found their job listing via Ethical Jobs, which is like a certified platform for social enterprises.
Yeah.
So that also helped my experience.
So for us, instead of buying an ad on Facebook, for example, or spending money on a billboard, we never have enough money, but maybe in a few years, I had to advertise on Ethical Jobs rather than go just to LinkedIn and put a free ad. Okay? Connect ourselves with a like-minded business to attract a like-minded person. So if I was going to ladder that, I'd like to look at it adaptively. So the business in its hiring practices focuses on vision, mission narratives, like 100% aligned. Okay, but that's a branding exercise, because brand extends beyond your colors and your logo. The brand is everything. So then we attract a like-minded person that will come and fit in our ecosystem. So when we are assessed by the market, by our stakeholders, by the customers, they know that not only we've got our narratives right and our copy looks great, but we live by our values. So that's another piece of the puzzle. That's, say, hiring practices. In operations, for example, as a very small business, it's very difficult to go to your supplier and ask them 10 questions to make sure that, are you the right person for me to do business with? Because you're trying to get the best price. But you have to. You've got to, again, align your supply chain with your vision, mission, narratives. And that is another branding exercise, because your suppliers are going to be your next billboard. Your suppliers are going to recommend you. So the more authentic and the truer you are to your narratives, the better those relationships are going to be. So those stakeholder engagement is super important, even when you pay people. You think, I'm paying somebody, shouldn't they be loyal to me? No, I don't want to be loyal to you unless you're 100% aligned, unless they truly believe in you. So that's another branding exercise, how that can flow on into the business. Grace, you do tenders with us. What's the problem with tenders? How can that be branded?
So we workshopped it a bit, but the main problem with tender writing is that it's very dry. Like the language was difficult to align with kind of our softer social enterprise language. So it did take a bit of workshopping, but essentially you just need the narrative to be able to shine through when you remove it from your normal language.
And again, it goes back to your vision, your mission, and narratives and values. And that shines through. It's consistent with your online ecosystem, with the public online ecosystem, digital ecosystem, which is your social media and your website. And you've got your private online ecosystem, where it's or in applications. And for a lot of businesses in the social sector, it's very important to get that first grant. It's very important to get the next tender. So another branding exercise, consistency between the document you'll submit to the government, the way you actually run your business, who you truly are, and what's on your social media. That connection, that authenticity across the board. What does that do when all of that is aligned? It brings trust in your brand. So we're going back to the traditional notion of branding, which was like, people are going to trust that Coca-Cola is going to taste fantastic, and you can't beat that feeling. But only in our case, we've got multi-layers to align. It's not just getting the people to drink Coca-Cola. It's like a Coca-Cola inside it. It's going to have all the right ingredients. It's going to have to be sources. Coca-Cola will never do that. I'm just using it as an example. But can you understand how much more difficult it is for us in the social sector? But at the same time, it doesn't cost. Because this is all your personal work. It's diving deeply into your soul, understanding who you are, what part of the world you want to change, how that business would look like, and then who the people that work with you, how they're going to be aligned. Carly, you recently started with us as well. Like you're super fresh and do a lot of social media, you love your TikTok. What is that you learned in the last few weeks?
I'd say looking at branding, like you mentioned, from that broader perspective of like, other than your graphics and your logo and your colors, like how do you take that brand home with you? How does it become part of your personality, or how does your personality fit into the brand?
Yeah. So we purposely decided not to have any flashy graphics behind us, but I'll show you our logo and then have, if this works, it won't work. I'll show you our logo here. So this is our logo. Can you see any similarities between me and the logo? So it's a little bit of yellow. So even branding will extend to even like sometimes we wear Converse, yellow Converse when we do presentations to remind people of the brand, because it is all those little things, all that alignment that will connect to your brand. Now, there will be an extra step in that, because don't forget, we're a social enterprise. So when we designed our uniforms, we said anyone can afford, from Target or Kmart, a simple yellow top or a simple black top. And if they can't, we'll buy them one. So when you come to work for us, you will never feel lesser. Sometimes the barrier to start a new job is, I'm homeless, I don't have new clothes. I feel a little bit fat, I actually do. I feel like, okay, what am I gonna wear? How am I gonna look as good as everybody else in hipster Melbourne? So even that's a branding exercise, but it comes from a place of good, because it aligns to our vision, where everybody should have access to opportunity. So it all links together. Doesn't that make you feel nice though when you hear it? Maybe it doesn't. So every little part of the business was designed with that vision in mind. So every little thing is a billboard, every little thing is advertising, every little thing is branding. So do you have any questions so far? Yeah.
Your tender applications you were talking about how you can't obviously drive in the pitching block pages. But how have you found the response when people have chosen someone over you and then potentially found out later on the choice? How does that conversation and relationship with your potential client does this?
So I preface this by saying that I'm autistic, so I'm going to be very blunt. So I hate that, and like in every sector, we have elitism in our sector as well. And I truly think that personal relationships go a long way. So if somebody gets to similar applications and you've engaged with them before, either on a personal level or on a professional level, the person that has engaged in a more successful way will go through. That comes back to our methodology. If you've engaged as a person and they truly know you're authentic, that there's trust in you, that you've been an advocate for 10 years in say, disability. Oh, okay, this is a new organization, but I've known that Kyriakos has worked for 10 years. So that's as good as an advertising billboard, because my personal credibility will vouch for my association. So that's a branding exercise. I've already done the hard work, and that hard work in the social sector, work equals money. So she's branded. Hi. So very just gold. I love that.
Thank you.
So again, I didn't have money to do that fast of advertising. I didn't have money to be on Channel 7. I didn't come from privilege. I didn't go to Scotch. So I can't go and get those big funds from my dad's friends. But I've worked for 20 years and my CV speaks for itself. So my CV is on LinkedIn. You can check it. So that's your branding exercise. The first component of the tenders. Okay, that's what you can do as a person. The second component is, if you've already been successful with a tender, you must make sure you acquit properly. You must make sure you connect with your stakeholders. You must go by the book. Even if something doesn't feel 100% right, make sure you are that person that converses. We work with the City of Melbourne. And we were very blessed in our first year to get the social enterprise grant. I couldn't believe it. We got $20,000, so much money for us. We bought computers, we bought a camera, just great. And like we knew that we did something right. Every time the phone rang, every time an email came, we were there first. When City of Melbourne wanted a little project, we quoted for very little value. We wanted to get that. That was the beginning of a beautiful relationship. Now we are in a social partnership with the City of Melbourne. I wouldn't have dreamt that we had this massive gender and age equity project called The Invisible Woman for 2 years with the City of Melbourne. Like, our impact program fits right in there. Second component, make sure those stakeholder relations, once you build first you build the trust as a person, then as an organization. So I didn't know them, they came to me, so Just Gold. So Just Gold built that relationship. The third component is the quality of the tender. How does that vision, mission, and narratives translate? You got to write well. You don't have to only mean well, and that's a branding exercise. If you've got a really great vision, a vision of a just world where everybody has access to opportunity, and how great does it sound? Just world, Just Gold. Rhymes really well, but that's not enough for my tender. The tender needs to make sense. It's an ad. It's got to be punchy. You got to word those 200 words that explain it, and that comes with practice. If you don't have the expertise, you got to find either the mentor or the person that will help you. Because again, this is an operational activity that has a lot of branding in it. So when you are, for example, articulating a particular social problem, you're going to say, in our case, we wanted to go and get money from the city of Melbourne to build a program for women over 50, because women over 50 become invisible. So it was almost like writing a poem. Every word needed to make sense. It's such a wicked problem that you couldn't articulate it easier. It took us 3 years to get that funding. But the third application was very good. So again, it was a branding exercise. I couldn't afford a tender writer when I started. I had to become one. Then I was too busy. I hired somebody that had all the potential, but I couldn't afford somebody for 100,000. I got somebody for a lot less. I trained that person. I incentivized that person so I can have those really great tenders. Again, all that is a branding exercise. You go, your vision of a just world, so giving access to everybody, finding a young graduate from a vulnerable group that has a lot of talent, get that person in, employ them, spend a lot of time with them, which is a great investment, but I didn't have that 20 grand to spend upskilling them in a school, but I could give that in my own time. So all that is a branding exercise. If somebody comes and tests me or checks me, everything matches. And it wouldn't if we didn't believe that. So when we did our B Corps application, most recently, when it was a really difficult application, one of the most lengthy and difficult applications, not because it was a difficult concept, there was just a lot of questions. Everything just fell into place. So does that answer your question in terms of tenders? Yeah. Anyone else? No? No questions? No questions? Okay, we can, yeah.
I have a question. I'm so sorry. I arrived late. I was speaking to.
That's fine, yeah.
I don't know if you covered this before I arrived, but something about impact. Sometimes when you apply for government grants, right, they ask you about the impact in the industry that you're at. Do you have any insights or advice about how to address that, especially if you have to be succinct about it?
Of course. So that goes back to your constitution. Yeah, if you, I don't know as a lawyer, but this is almost like your vision is your constitution, your mission is like your laws, and then your narratives and values are your regulations. So once you have your vision, which is say end poverty, and then your mission, which is what's the goal of your actual, tell me, what's your company, your social enterprise, you want to share?
Yeah, sort of. This is starting, so I don't know.
Let's workshop that.
Okay, so basically, I am trying to use the circular economy to help farmers adapt to climate change. That is the overarching.
Okay, and how are you going to do that?
How am I going to do that? So I am basically trying to convert waste, into ag feeds.
So that's your mission. We are converting waste into
agricultural feeds.
Okay, I don't know much about this.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and how do you convert that?
Sorry.
So you're converting the waste, but what's the technology that you're using?
That's still in development.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your full mission would be, we are converting waste using this technology to do this. Your vision would have to go even higher. How does that world with no waste look? Like a world without waste. Okay, perfect vision.
Yeah.
Just perfect. Yeah. when you become a millionaire. Like a world without waste. I love it. Like I don't know if you like it, but I love it. Like I love your work. So that's your vision. Then you've got your mission. Now you've got to find how to measure your impact and how that mission ticks all the boxes. So which farmers will you be working with? Are there going to be female farmers? Are there going to be male farmers? It's going to be everybody. It's going to be rural. I mean, farmers normally are in regional, but you could be very regional. You could be international. So you have to define exactly how that mission delivers impact. So in our case, if I was to do that contrast, is we employ people from vulnerable groups that are highly skilled, okay, to deliver marketing projects for the social sector. We do so by working with tier 1 governments, and from our profits we empower everything else. So we measure our impact in those ways, like how many people we employ, how many organizations we've actually helped, and if you've got access to that data, how many lives have those organizations changed. So the blueprint is pretty much the same, like you can just go 1 layer, 2 layers, 3 layers. The first relationship, what that relationship does, and what those relationships do. And impact measurement is really difficult, but the more defined you are with your impact measurement, the better funding you'll attract, and the more clear your brand proposition will be. So impact measurement is very, very, very challenging, and it's a whole different lecture. But it is, again, part of your branding exercise. So you will go back to those 4 layers: vision, mission, values, narratives. Did that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you.
Any other question? We can do some role plays in terms of how you define your vision and your mission, and to give you a little bit more clarity if there's no questions right now.
I have a question.
Yeah, go on.
Where's a good source for data? Would it be like the Australian Bureau of Statistics?
What kinds of data would you like?
For looking at the current problems we're facing and being able to pitch ideas on your solutions, being able to help change those types.
Yeah, so it really depends on, this is a research question, so it really depends on what solution you're trying to get. The ABS will give you strong demographic data and will give you some behaviors. If you were looking, for example, at digital trends, you'd be looking at the Hootsuite annual publication that comes out. But then there are specific journals for every area of study. So if you were looking at environment, you'd have to go into those journals and you have to get that extra data. So and always, like, there are so many ideas out there and so many enterprises and so many different missions. Okay? At the end of the day, everybody in the social sector has the same vision. We all believe in an equal world. We all want a better planet. We all want a better society. So our visions are going to align somehow. But it's our missions that need to be very distinct in terms of what's my business proposition, how am I going to make money out of this? Because I think social enterprises and non-profits are capitalism's answer to balance government's inefficiencies to roll out national social justice programs. Like in the past, 20 years ago, one school in every region, one stadium in every region, hospitals everywhere. Now governments cannot afford that. There's more people living longer. So that's why your mission, which is another branding exercise, is very important. So you need to research it. First, you need to see, I don't know if you heard Rebecca Scott before, she does tremendous work, okay? Why would I build another street? You know, why would I go against the street? If I have a really strong concept, I can go in there. Let's look at how I can collaborate, okay? So make sure your mission is distinct, because we are now talking about underfunded organizations. I'm not saying that I've got a couple of $1 million and I'm going to build this competitor to XYZ company. So if you don't have money, you have to find that mission that is distinct, that it's new, that it makes sense, you need to back it with the right research. So obviously ABS will give your first layer, but then you need to go into that industry. Is it waste? Is it environment? Is it marketing? And there is a lot of research that's coming out. In terms of the social sector, you can look at the Victorian Social Enterprise Strategy that we recently published, by the way. So I just go into that, look at what the Victorian government is doing, look at the Queensland government is doing. They're both quite ahead in terms of strategy and social entrepreneurship. Then contrast that with the data that you get in journals, then contrast that with ABS, okay? And then see if it's viable. So again, this is, the stronger your research is, the stronger your mission is, the more it will make sense in your branding. So these things don't cost money, but they cost time. And time in the social sector is valued as dollars. So it's up to each social entrepreneur to say, how much time do I have in my day? Can I allocate that? How much do I believe in this? And if you're not a social entrepreneur, you're working for somebody, how can I help my organization achieve that? What is the pro bono allocation? How much extra time am I going to stay at work today to help us achieve? Because I'll get a better job or I'll get a better life. Because it may not just be about more money or about a better job or about owning a business. It may just be about bettering the world. That comes back to your personal brand and how you see the world. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very much.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Just a real quick one. So no doubt you come up against this more than most, but your competitive companies in branding, also say normally going to be scum. So how do you tell that story without putting them down? Because especially in the environmental sector, you're going to get other companies that come over and they are green and a lot of time greenwashing, but they will win the tender or they may achieve. I mean, obviously the personal relationship one way, but how do you differentiate between showing your transparency and they're going to share the same story, but you know for a fact?
It's not a pretty world. I mean, we're all trying to change the world because it's not very pretty at the moment. So there is corruption. I'm the internal optimist, okay? So I always knock on doors and I keep on knocking and I keep on knocking. And I'm very Greek, so sometimes I'm very vocal and I've been advised not to. But I've made that decision that for my personal brand, and I'll put it in those terms, being very wide and Anglo and prim and proper, for me doesn't work. I've made that choice. That's how it fits in my psyche and in my brand. So if I go head to head with somebody and I lose a tender, because in many cases that will happen, because people don't like to be challenged, I'm okay with it because I've made that decision. Okay, you can't win it all. You can't have your cake and eat it all. So every decision you make will have a pros and cons. So if you decide to be outspoken, be ready to lose some contracts. Okay, but be in it for the long run. Say, I'm going to go ahead with that person, but I'm going to be around for 4 years and I'm going to get that contract. That's kind of adversarial. Like the advice that you get from most people is try to look at the win-win, try to be a bit softer, don't make any enemies. So it's up to you to look at your personal ecosystem and your personal stamina, how long you can stay, and decide whether you need to go head to head or not. Then the other thing you can do, like you had a very sophisticated PR approach, and that takes time or money. So my sophisticated PR approach is company A is corrupt and they've got this tender, and I really wanted that. Then I'll need to make a detailed PR plan, find the right time where I'm going to go to media, have a good journalist that's going to put the neck on the line for me, expose that. So next year, because that grant has gone, you're not going to get that. You're working on the next one. So, and then you have to decide in that's again a branding exercise because you're positioning yourself as a very adversarial leader. So people may not want to work with you in that way. So you may have to just analyze the ecosystem and say, okay, maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I should just sit it out, make sure I publish my advantages throughout the year, go out with a softer PR strategy, and then when the next tender of this caliber comes, I've already met with the right people, because you need to meet the right people. I've already let them know how I'm better in a software, and that will work to my benefit. But again, two very different strategies, but it comes back to your personal brand. Like, I'll give an example, like Concaravan Analytics. Okay, we've got a Greek background. We could also look a little bit similar, beard. Con can come out and say, he had a tweet last week. I better get some megs with me because I may see the Prime Minister in the street. He gets away with it because of who he is and the fan base and the army. I couldn't get away with that. So I have to filter my tweets. So you see how there's no one answer that will fit for everything. Two very similar people, okay?
Share your vision and your mission and all that.
I'm sorry?
You're comfortable sharing your vision, your mission? And...
Yeah, I mean, I'm super comfortable with everything that Justable has out. Like for us, that's risk-free structure. The part of me that I haven't shared is that sometimes I want to break the doors that are closed. But I know that I won't fit well in the Australian society. Okay, that I will be classified as too intense or whatever comes with it. So that's what I'm talking about. It's a branding exercise. You got to, I'm not being inauthentic. Like, my vision is still my vision. My mission is still my mission. I still believe in togetherness and working together. I still believe in employing the right people that are 100% aligned. But I'm not going to say how much I hate those doors being closed because I didn't go to Scots College. You know, that's just not a smart ad, is it? Unless you are at the level of con where whatever you say is not going to affect the business. And it's not just a personal thing, because if I do something that starts at Just Gold, it starts at everybody's salary. Okay, so I could, if it was just me, and when it was just me and my business partner, it was a lot easier. Just us. Who cares? Now you got to make sure that the salaries are coming through, that everybody is feeling safe and welcome, because that's what you believe in. So I see how it's always changing. But what doesn't change is that I believe in a just world with access to opportunity. I hate that door being closed because that doesn't give me access to opportunity. So it's all true. It's just a matter of how you phrase it. So I'm mindful of the time. I'm just going to say there's one more step. So you build the enterprise, you follow all this stuff, all this methodology, and the enterprise starts growing, and you have staff, and you still have that symbiotic relationship with it, like a mother and son, or like a father and daughter, or a father and son. But now it's time to let go. So suddenly you find yourself in the place that total alignment still needs to be there, but you need to let the brand branch out. Because what if you want to retire? What happens to this beautiful structure you built? What happens to that ecosystem, to your 10, 20, or 30, or maybe you have 100 staff? Okay, so you need to enable the brand to, like the kid is in its terrible twos and it just runs out everywhere. You need to teach it how to walk. You're laughing because you have a 2-year-old. So you have to think about it like parenting. And for example, in my case, I was a broadcaster at SBS for a long time. I had quite a large following in the Greek community. So a lot of our business was coming from my social media that at the time were considered to be very busy. I had 10,000 followers, now that means nothing. So a lot of that business was coming from my personal brand. As Just Gold became bigger, I stopped posting. Because then it was a time for Just Gold to post. So it was a ready business, it was ready to walk, and then you just start taking a step back and brand the business more than yourself. So at the beginning, it's you that drives it because you have the networks, you have the people, you go to lunch, you go to dinner. But then as you build your platforms and you've got 1,000 followers or 500 followers or whatever, then you're thinking, okay, I can't go to that many lunches. So I'll put my money into this. I'll put my energy into this ecosystem. Yours stays there, continues. It's always there. But you're not the primary brand, you're the secondary brand. And then you look at your succession plan and your team. So your team, every team member is a brand in itself. So again, you start with yourself, then you attach to your personal, to your service or product brand, then you build your team, then you step back, and then you brand the team members that go with it, and then you brand the successor. And everything has to be 100% aligned. I don't know how long we've got. I can talk forever.
It's 3:30. There's a break on now if anyone would like to get some afternoon tea. But you could probably go for another 10.
Sure. Do you have any questions on that? No? So our page is justgold.net and our social media are at We Are Just Gold. So feel free to send us any questions. We can give you a basic questionnaire in terms of if you want to define your vision and mission. There are a couple of exercises that I find that are very, very easy, and they help your brain unpack things. And then we also give you some examples of visions and missions. We're happy to do that. Just hit us up on social media and we'll give you all the info. Thank you.
Thank you so much.